Hey guys, it's just NoPhaseNoKill here once again, giving you a pub replay analysis. This time I'm playing Lina. Pretty much jump straight into the game, same as the old videos. I'll run through exactly what I think that I've done good, what I think I've done bad. This is probably one of the longest games I've played in a while. This game goes for roughly an hour. The reason that I chose this is firstly because I'm pretty much at the moment just playing games and then uploading them. This is probably one of the best or closest games I played in a pub for a very long time. Players on my team were actually all pretty decent. Their movements and stuff like that were pretty good. So once again, we'll just be focusing on my individual play. So last time as well, we'll go as well with the opening item build that I choose to go. Once again, I've got the one observer ward. I end up seeing that the Windrunner's already got 2 tangos pulled to her by the ogre, so I actually adjust my build this game. I'm going to get a set of tangos and also some sentry wards. The reasoning behind this is from the last 2 games that I've reviewed, we've seen that the camp has been blocked. So instead of getting extra regen, I'm wanting a sentry ward to pretty much de-ward them. Just the micro switch ups in these item builds, guys. I'm not going to be going the same item build every single game. One thing as well that I've been considering the previous build since reviewing the last 2 replays is actually skipping these 2 ironwood branches, and instead I'll have roughly about 180 gold, and then as soon as I get enough gold for the sentry wards, I'll just ship them out altogether. So with the other build from both of the games, I would get 2 sets of tangos. You can see here that I've warded the lane. This is pretty important. I would consider, if you end up getting 2 obs wards, warding the lane is always good, particularly as well from their draft. They're most likely going to dual lane. It's probably going to be Husker middle.
The battle begins.
From what we've seen, Venge top. May also be Razor middle, so it looks like it's Razor middle because you got the bounty rune. So it'll be Razor Husker, Razor middle, Husker, Venge top, and Shadow Priest. Slarder bottom, so it's just good to have a lane ward just so that we can try and zone these 2 heroes out. Notice as well that I missed the block. I went back pretty early on and missed that. It's pretty bad as well in terms of the lanes fairly pushed now. Also seeing that the slider has an obs ward on him, so he most likely hasn't blocked the pull. What I'll be doing is basically just single pulling, but pulling through to just deny as much XP because we missed the lane block. You're pretty much always wanting to do this to maximize your farming speed. If they haven't blocked a camp from the first wave. I've also noticed from the last couple of replays that I've missed this camp, and I'm pretty sure that I missed this one as well. I get really greedy for some reason trying to hit that second creep and get the gold from that. I've done that I think 2 times out of the 3 replays and I've missed both stacks. So an interesting thing maybe to learn from that is that instead of doing it that particular way, sacrificing one of those creeps is beneficial. It means that you're going to actually get the camp. See here that the slider's warded the Iron Obs ward. Obviously just kill that. Yeah, going back to the actual stack, maybe I can't, judging from the last couple of videos, I don't think I can actually get that particular camp pulled through on the Radiant side without sacrificing at least 1 creep. End up going here on the slider. I casted the stun and then I actually stopped my animation because I thought that he might juke me. Ends up actually probably missing a kill. I guess that's just a mistake. I probably should have just trusted my instinct. Isn't really anything else that I can do about it. The timing as well, I've actually missed the rune timing. He ends up getting it because we were going for that gank, so the stun miss costs me a kill. Also the rune. End up smoking up here because we see this Venge around middle. Peter Payne's usage of that courier was a bit ridiculous. I had to micro it myself. Not quite sure why we wasted a smoke there though on the ogre. We could have just actually just killed that Venge just straight up rather than smoke ending. End up casting my Light Ogre array. The reason for that is that I actually don't want him to deny himself from that particular wave, so just 3 minutes here. Once again, I've upgraded the courier. I've chosen to upgrade that. The reason for that being is that Pop was sort of bottle crowing, and the courier, you want the speed burst on the way back. The reasoning for that is that because the courier moves at such a slow speed, you're wanting the courier to be going back to base as soon as possible, so using the haste on the way back is always going to be a lot more efficient than using the haste when the bottle is full. So looking as well, I haven't really been stacking that much because of the rotation, both to try and gank bottom and also gank middle. So you can see sort of my levels have been sacrificed a little bit here, which is it's okay. If we'd killed the slarder, it would have been way better because I would have gotten the rune as well. Pulling the wave here, pretty standard. I don't actually see anyone get the rune. I killed that creep too quickly and it actually ended up missing the pull through to the sort of smaller centaur. Like I said before, I didn't see anyone get the rune. I saw Slarder rotate down there and then actually change his mind. Mistake there, I guess I got fogged for a little bit. Didn't have too much time to react with the stun. Maybe the pathing of where I was wrong. I've also noticed because I ruined the didn't pull through correctly, I've decided to just try and push the wave with that and sort of get this tower down as early as possible. You kind of have to just go with your mistakes, guys, and try and get as much out of it as possible. So here we're actually just zoning out sort of the slider, getting hits on the tower. I'm not particularly sure at this stage sort of why the ogre doesn't just stun him. We can probably just kill it like right here, for instance. If he just stunned him, we would have just killed him. So sort of expecting him to just stun him, and then he ends up stunning in a really bad spot. And for some reason, I just went in there, so it's kind of just bad. Luckily, we end up killing the slider. But we could have just gotten him for free. Now the Deuce has kind of been taking a lot of hits. That was just me expecting the ogre to go. Good TP out. So I guess in that situation, it's you really probably just wanting to talk over the microphone, just say just stun him, like stop trying to zone him out with his fake stun. Just a bit of miscommunication there. And also the ogre was chatting to me after that happened, and he just said that I was just trying to zone him by faking the stun. So yeah, if I see an opportunity, I probably should have just asked him to stun instead. Slarder has gotten a fair amount as well out of this offlane. He's already level 5 and it's 6 minutes, so we haven't done a great job at zoning him out as support. So I feel like another alternate to what was happening before is that instead of me pulling the first wave, the melee hero should always be pulling, and I can just sort of zone him out in the lane. But because of the ogre's positioning, I guess I had to be the one that was stacking the majority of the time. So maybe sorry, not stacking, pulling. So after I pull the first time, maybe I should let ogre know to say, hey, can you be the one pulling, and let me just zone the slarder. Once again, I put down a lane ward, guys. The reason behind this is because Slarder is a pretty aggressive hero in general. I just want to see his movements and where he is. I don't really want the Deucer to die. I feel like we've got much better late game than they do. They've got really quite a strong mid game draft. So I'm just wanting to secure as much farm on the Deucer early, just so that, so that she gets as much farm coming into the mid game as possible. See a couple of heroes here. Slarder's sort of a bit blocked off here. End up bursting him down, which is actually pretty good. And we end up zoning the dazzle. Actually getting pretty good sort of farm here early on. Think about as well when going back to the slarder kill that I missed. Would have been really quite big. The Razor is currently missing and the Venge is sitting at the middle. I'm maybe a little bit hesitant about where the Razor is at the moment. Honestly got no idea where he could be, and if the Venge was middle, you'd probably assume that they're going to come bottom. Slarder's dipping in, I end up missing the stun. That Ogre's just flat out dead. I should probably just leave him at that stage, or at least try and contest the tower. We now see that Razor's back middle as well, so... misjudged the stun timing. I think that if I hit the stun there, then the Ogre stuns over the top of it, and the Deuce is hitting him, we can maybe kill him. But it would have been relatively close because he still would have been fountain regening as well after he TP'd in, if that's where he came from. Once again, utilising my movements, trying to move around and stack at the same time. Because of where their supports have been as well, because both of the supports were bottom before, I thought that they may have actually warded the river. And that probably would have been the best spot for them to ward if they'd sort of just come through here. So what I'll talk about as well, I'll just go to the free camera. I'd just like to talk about this ward. This is a really good ward. What I would do is always reference it between this tree and this particular like fire cauldron here. You want to put like it directly in between there, slightly to the right of where this bottom red thing here is, but right in the middle. Excuse me. What that does... Sorry about that. What that does is it means that a lot of common sentry places, so if you put a sentry here, which ends up getting that, and sort of the edge of this as well, I've done a bit of testing and actually figured out that if you put it here, it misses this by sort of maybe 20 or 30 Dota units. So that's kind of cool. That sort of goes into the intricacies of my warding and just how exact it is. The interesting part about this particular observer ward as well is that it gives you virtually almost the exact same vision or parts of the vision that you're wanting around this area. You're not actually really wanting more vision than that, as compared to right on the cliff here, which is a really common spot, or maybe even here. So the vision is virtually almost the same. It also sees the rune, it just sees the rune, and on top of that, it's a lot harder to de-ward. So that's why I've sort of done a bit of playing around with that. Just an interesting little intricacy of why I put that obs ward there. Going back to heal at the moment, this Quap ended up being a really good player. I haven't seen many players on the Oz server who play middle or core that I'm really impressed by, but this guy was really solid, and ended up having a very large impact in this game. Item choices here, I wasn't particularly too sure what I wanted to go. I knew obviously that I wanted to go Yules first, but I wasn't sure whether I wanted to go a naked Yules or whether I wanted to get a build up such as a bracelet or an urn. I don't really see sort of any usage for an urn, because I feel like if we get caught out in a fight due to them having a slider and a husker, I'm going to die and there's not going to be really many prolonged fights. I feel like we're probably early game wanting to have more of a bursty fight. Whereas if the fight's prolonged, they're probably going to be winning it. So I don't really want the urn in that situation. I'm not going to be using it that efficiently. So I decided just to go for a bracer instead, just for the extra health and also extra mana. I'm not really sure whether that's correct as well. I also could have gone, instead of the bracer, started to build up towards my arcane boots first, which also would have been another option to make me flash farm quicker and try and also sort of just get more farm. Sorry, that is flash farm, but try and basically have more sustain in terms of our mana input and our burst, so that if anyone's low on mana from farming, then we can just heal them up and then fight again. But like I said before, the fights that we're wanting to have are wanting ideally shorter fights, so really bursty fights, because we've got more burst orientated heroes, whereas they've got sort of more prolonged ones with the Razor static link, sort of slarder as well. Bot goes a bit too deep there, just misses out on the kill. I'm also, once again guys, making sure that I stack at the correct times. What I should maybe be doing as well, which is a really common ward spot, is also around middle. Also notice that they're going on bottom on the minimap, but I'm not for some reason looking down there at all. So maybe that, I can't exactly remember, but maybe the Deucer said that she was fine, so yeah, what I should be doing as well is putting a sentry ward around, because it's a very common spot. End up just missing that Dragon Slave, we end up killing her anyway.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
She'll still get the gold from the EXP range. Now putting a ward here, guys. This is one of my favourite sort of ward spots around here. It just gives good vision in terms of what they've stacked and their rotations around middle with their support heroes. Excuse me. Maybe as well in a game like this, that isn't a good ward spot, just solely for the fact that they don't have many creep wave clearers, so they're not normally going to have the stacked. I feel like I can actually get a kill here on the slarder. The mistake there that I actually made was not attacking one more time before I lagooned. If we... it was always going to be really, really close, but I felt like I needed to attack him once more from watching that, but also when I did it, I intended to actually click him once more, but I ended up casting my ulti sooner than I thought I was, so fairly good opportunity as well. The reason that I went for that, or the reason that I could go for that, was because it was night time, and I was just watching him, how he's moving towards the creep wave, and just wanted to really bait him to come in and get that last creep kill, and then go for it, but ended up missing the kill because I didn't get that hit in before, or the extra hit, sorry, before I ended up ulting, so... Like I said before, we're wanting to really just keep this game as slow as possible and wanting to farm up a lot. You can see we're doing a lot of stacking, we're doing a lot of farming, not really rotating too much at the moment. It's pretty much just wanting to solidify the farm on both the Deucer, the Windrunner as well in the off lane, and take the game as late as possible, because that's where we really excel against their draft. Their draft, however, does go fairly decently late game, but I feel against the Deucer Gaze, and once the Windrunner gets an Ags and gets online, with the Ogre Bloodlust and with the Queen of Pain as well, if she's gotten a pretty good start, it just means that I feel like they're just going to have a lot of trouble fighting us, so... My movements around here are a little bit sort of inefficient, I think. I think that I should really just be farming these jungle camps rather than running around doing nothing. My intention was to actually sort of smoke gank like we do here with the ogre, but I feel like I wasted about 20 seconds. Smoking up here, obviously, because it is nighttime or it's just about to turn daytime as well. We may actually have a slight opportunity. End up getting a stun up there, which is pretty good. The reason I ended up using Laguna when he's on such, when his passive was so high because he was low health, was just strictly for the reason that I wanted to burst him down. I wanted that extra, like, maybe 100 or 150 damage, so that the Queen of Pain could just ulti him and kill him. If the fight was even slightly prolonged and the Dazzle had time to get there, he would have turned the fight with his armlet toggling, so
Dire's middle tower is under
just really
attack.
wanted to secure that kill.
Dire's structures are fortified.
End up placing a sentry here. This once again is my favourite sentry, as it basically covers all the common ward spots. I'll just go to the free camera just as well and just pause the game just so that we can talk about this. The range of the sentry ward covers sort of around here, which is where almost always if you're going to ward on our hill, they'll ward. Some people will alternatively ward out here. That's quite rare in pubs. We'll also get obviously all up here. It sort of cuts there as well, so if anyone's put it there, and obviously gets about there as well. So once again, guys, the in the last video, or maybe even the first video it was that I was talking about, it's really important and about where we're placing these sentries and exactly where we're placing them. I also stated as well, which I didn't agree with a lot of the professional players' sentry placements. I feel like they could be a lot more efficient. So that's something that I've really been trying to work on, and I feel like this one in particular exemplifies that with how close that was to getting that ward. It was just covering the area. So stacking once again. I've realised that there's a free lane at top, so that I can maybe leech some XP off. So sort of heading towards there at the moment. Fight at middle ended up breaking out. I feel like they were going to dive a little bit more, but Deucer ends up popping a gaze. So pretty much wasted time there that I could have been farming top. Decided pretty much just to give up top tower. We've got no glyph and there's just no way of us defending it, so just no point in me even going there. It's just better for me to be in the jungle and just farming camps. Also seeing the win run I'm getting going on here. Slarder has his blink as well. He's quite big at the moment, so end up seeing the Dazzle go there. I actually think that he, I thought that he warded at the time, because I wasn't quite sure why he was in such a peculiar position. I feel like that's almost just going to be him warding, but later on I end up putting a sentry down there and don't actually find a ward, which I found really odd. I'm not quite sure why he was there at all. I might actually just pause the replay and just see if there's any, if there is any ward there.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Okay, so my fog is now bugged. That's awesome. No, so he put a sentry ward in there. Okay, that makes a lot more sense for some reason. So I don't even know why you would go there and just put a sentry ward, to be perfectly honest. I feel like that's a really odd play to do. Yeah. Sorry, that was actually my sentry ward that I put. So, no, he didn't actually put anything there at all. So, yeah, quite an odd play. End up getting the Husker there, traded for the Deucer.
Radiant structures are fortified.
Could have TP'd a little bit earlier, maybe, if I was paying attention more. But
Radiant's middle tower
still good that we get the kill. Would have been really disastrous there. I'd missed the stun or didn't end up killing him that quick enough, because he would have just armor toggled and maybe even killed me or killed the ogre as well. Because particularly with two intel heroes against a husker at this stage of the game, if he's low health and he's got an armlet and he toggles it properly, you can't really kill him. It's just gonna wreck you.
Radiant structures are fortified.
Seen as well, I've ended up putting an obs ward in their jungle. Because their tier 1 tower is still up, I really want to be seeing their movements and just having a look at exactly what's going on, where they are. Also because bottom lane was pushed and I needed to push out the top lane, I felt as though that was a good opportunity for me to be warding while the rest of my teammates were fighting. Because it normally goes a little bit unnoticed. As you can see as well, I've decided to go for the arcane boots before the actual fuel setup. Going for this husky here, I know that the clock's going to blink up and he's pretty much going to turn on her, so I'm having my stun pretty much always ready. Once again, I know that I'm not optimizing my Laguna Blade there with its full damage, but I'm just wanting to get that 150, 200 damage nuke on her so that we can really burst him down, sorry, as soon as possible. Pretty close to my Yules. I'm fairly big at this stage of the game for a support hero, considering how much I've been warding as well. So I'm getting pretty decent farm. I'm getting fairly involved in some of these fights as well. I'll just check the shop as well, see if there's any wards in stock. So no, there isn't at the moment. So we're doing a good job at keeping all the wards up. We've got one in the lane at bottom still, which is still a really important ward. And also one at top seeing their tier 1 tower, so if we ever decide to push that, then we've got vision of that too. Once again guys, with the draft disparities, we're really wanting to try and not necessarily 100% dodge fights, but we're wanting to sometimes concede the tier 1 towers instead of actually fighting them straight up, because they are peaking at this stage of the game. So we're also taking Roche at this stage now, which there just isn't anything that we can do about to do with the way that the lanes are pushed. We pretty much saw them rotate with that bottom mobs, and they can just kill it so quickly with a Husker and a Slarder with his amplified damage, so isn't really any point. And basically telling my team at this stage that we shouldn't be fighting bottom, and we should just let the bottom tower go, and we should try and trade for the top tower instead. Because we see 3 heroes gathered at bottom, so we know what they want to push, and they've also just got Nagas. So making the decision and letting your teammates know what you're doing as early as possible is really important, which is actually what that obs ward at bottom ended up letting us do. So we trade our tier 1 bottom tower for their tier 1, and maybe also a tier 1 middle, which ends up being way worth it considering they have the Aegis and they're the ones that are wanting to fight us at the moment. So didn't end up getting the middle tower. We got a lot of damage on it. End up TPing bottom. I feel like they haven't actually killed it yet, and we can actually maybe kill them. The Windrunner, ends up TPing. There isn't anything else that we can do. Now I'm in a really bad position because I've realised that they have turned around and all the enemy heroes are missing. So looked like they were smoked for that as well. We obviously don't have any obs wards down there, but once I've TP'd bottom and then missed the kill, I should never ever be going in there. That was just really, really silly. I don't even know why I'm there, to be perfectly honest. That was just a big mistake. Pretty close to my Yule Scepter before that as well. So should have just simply backed off. We got a good trade in the end. We got a lot of damage on the tier 1 middle. We also got the tier 1 top.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
This is where the game is sort of really starting to change in terms of the pace of the game as well. They're just wanting to get really, really aggressive on us with the slarder blink. They're basically not wanting to have a bar of it and just trying to split pushes. I'm really, really far away from this fight, so I make the decision instead that the fight's probably going to be over by the time I get there, so I'm just going to farm bottom, push that wave out a little bit. I also saw them, or thought that they might have placed a ops ward in the jungle, so that's a good time to de-ward that. Once again, if you think you're going to be late to the fights, it's often better as a support hero to just be warding correctly. End up rotating as well and getting a kill on the raid. So that sort of series of events for me was pretty good in terms of what I got out of it. I got 3 creeps bottom, got a D-ward, and then ended up coming and joining and killing the Razor too. So definitely well worth it for me. The other option could have been as well to skip those 3 creeps and come a little bit earlier. I'm not sure how big of a difference that would have made in terms of my actual input to that team fight. So I was always wanting to kill that obs ward anyway, or putting a sentry down in our jungle and seeing if they had one down anyway, so it's just sort of a good way to go about it. End up at the moment placing a obs ward on the bottom rune. I basically just want to see them rotating into our jungle and just sort of see what's going on with that. Also, the Roche is down, so I feel like that's just not necessary. The main reason that I'm using that ward is that I just want to see them rotate into our jungle and just see what they do. I want to see if the supports maybe try and ward up again. I want to see if they're putting pressure on our jungle so that we can rotate into their jungle because their tier 1 tower is gone. Just provides us with a lot of information at this stage of the game, which is fairly useful. I don't really have an indication as well of where their other obs wards might be. Obviously I de-warded the one in our jungle just before, but I haven't really seen them with obs wards that much. I feel like a lot of the ones that they have planted have been in fog, so I haven't really had a chance. Another sort of common mistake as well that I see in pubs, guys, is overbuying sentry wards and just placing a bunch of them to see if they have obs anywhere. A lot of the time it's probably just better in a pub game to be getting more items on yourself rather than spamming sentries. I would normally sort of try and predict, like I did before. I didn't have strict vision on the their supports putting an obs in their jungle, but I had a fair indication because they'd been in there that they would have warded in there. So it's more just using common sense about that and not overbuying obs wards just for the strict reason that it's kind of a waste of money if you use like 3 sentries and don't get a ward. It's much better to be thinking about where you think that they might have placed a ward than buying sentries and then using that carefully rather than just spamming them all over. Decided as well that I'm going to go for an Agnes next. The reasoning behind that is obviously it's just really, really good against the BKB of the Husker. And just good against the heroes in general. Just good against Husker in general because the pure damage obviously goes through his magical resistance. So the pure damage with my ulti and then also the Queen of Pain's ulti is good. Queen of Pain and I see an engagement here at middle. I end up hanging around for the tower, making sure that I do in fact kill it. I also see that Husker is bottom. I decided instead of TPing mid lane, it's actually going to run down. Because if Queen of Pain gets a really sick ulti off, it's a little bit nuts. So I feel like I can join in on this, definitely kill the Razor. End up getting a kill from him, which is good as well. And then all of a sudden I'm actually relatively close to an Ag Scepter. Now, going off what I was just saying before as well about the vision, because I haven't actually had too much of a chance to see where they've been placing obs wards, I feel like think I do buy it here. End up buying a gem. I was considering also buying a silver edge, but then realised how dumb that was. Why would I not just buy an axe? I wanted to actually break the husker's passive skill, but then I just realised how bad that was. Like I said before as well, I feel like this would be a pretty good time to be buying a gem, just for the fact that I have a lot of gold. Also the fact that I just haven't seen in place that many orb swords around, so I'd probably use it and maybe get 2 orb swords out of it, where I otherwise wouldn't have normally picked for them to be warding. Gem just isn't picked up enough by myself as well. Here we go, I ended up buying how to do. By myself, that's something that I've sort of been focusing on lately. I've got no vision here at middle, and I'm farming creeps, so I don't really know what I'm doing. End up dying there. Yeah, I was just in a really terrible position, so I just flat out shouldn't have been farming creeps, and we end up losing our Queen of Pain's unstoppable streak, sorry for that too. Another thing as well that I could have considered was going the straight Ags instead of getting the gem, because I guess maybe de-warding their vision at the moment isn't that important because they can't really pick us off with that many heroes. It's more just that I was in a really bad position and I ended up dying there, so could be another route that you go. I still feel like limiting the enemy's vision, particularly if you're wanting to draw out the game, is always good, just because it means that you can maximise your farming routes. This is the part of the game where, for us, it actually gets quite scary. They've now got an advantage. The Queen of Pain's dead for sort of 25 seconds. If they get another pick-up on one of our cores, such as the Queen of Pain or maybe even the Deucer, I feel like it's going to be fairly hard to defend. I end up placing a sentry ward there because I think that they may have warded the vision sort of through that path. There, often when the tier 2 tower gets taken, that's a good spot to be warding on Dire, so I thought that they may have just warded there. But like I said before, this is a really scary time, particularly when they're Dire as well. They've almost got access to Roshan for free, also with the slarder, so it's just really difficult for us to do anything. You notice here that we're going on the dazzle. My positioning here is I'm hanging at the back. I don't want the slarder to stun all of us, so I'm just really trying to hang at the back, trying to get as many nukes and stuns off as possible. End up just flat out ulting that Razor, because I feel like it was a pro move. Didn't actually see the slarder here, guys, on the right hand side. I remember at the time thinking where that slarder come from. Didn't actually see him go to the right hand side, so I actually missed that. That was just bad map vision for me. Ended up splitting up the fight there and chasing the Venge because I just didn't see him. So I was really just trying to isolate that Venge and kill her because I feel like I would have been able to burst her by myself. Whereas, as it turned out, the slarder was actually up there as well and ended up dying, so instead of that I probably should have either chased the slarder or the Razor. So that was just a mistake in terms of my map vision and just not being aware of what was going on there. Still a good fight for us though. We end up killing 3 and we only lost 1, which was really good. Queen of Pain as well at this stage is just getting fat. She's almost got Shivers, Ags and a Hex, so she's pretty big. Also giving her the gem because she's really hard to kill at the moment, which is good. Also looking at the sort of the gold lost, or the gold that I had 7 minutes ago, or 6 minutes ago, when I said that I was halfway to my Ags, or almost had Ags. That gem sort of set my own item scaling back quite a lot, so keep that in mind, guys. That is a risky move. These fights are going pretty decently. Buying that gem can set you back quite a lot. There's a lot of contest around Roshan. We're not really wanting them to get Roshan for free. We kind of want them to pay a price for it. But once again, the vision that we actually have at the moment, I can't really fight at the moment into it. We end up getting a power shot in there, realizing we kind of have to force something. Deucer gets a really good ulti on. Once again, I'm hanging back here, guys. I don't want to get caught at any stage. If I'm too far up, then we're just going to lose. I end up not using my Laguna Blade there for some reason. I should have probably just straight up used Dazzle. That was a mistake for me. I feel like we really need to just burst the Dazzle there. Then for me to back off, wait for my stun to come off cooldown, and then go again. I kind of just want to revisit sort of that fight and just see sort of exactly how that went. I feel like it was a really interesting fight. I'm just going to put it into like half time at the moment. So, and I'll go free camera as well. So, Deucer gets a really good ulti off. At that particular stage, maybe instead of backing off from the slider, I should have actually just been ulting him. And we probably would have flat out killed him. Here, I've got sort of one option. I end up stunning with Dazzle. I should have just straight up ulted him and then run backwards. Instead, I'm actually sitting here getting hit by the husk, which is a big problem. So that was a mistake. I end up using myself to try and dodge it, but his burning spear is just going to kill me. I then try and go back in and try and get off my stun, but end up dying. So, a couple of mistakes from that fight. One, just not ulting the slider straight up and bursting him down. I maybe even could have used the Yules on him, used and stun him. But the second thing was bursting down Dazzle as well, and made that secondary mistake. The fight was already lost by then, but I still could have killed the Dazzle and backed off probably and gotten out. So that fight goes pretty disastrously for us. We lose 4 heroes, they only lose 3. They also still keep the Aegis. I don't think that we got that. So that fight absolutely wasn't worth it. I think that if we were in the fight sort of slightly earlier, for instance if we were in the fight maybe 3 seconds earlier and stopped them from getting Roche before the fight engaged, maybe they would actually kill that husk. Is this where the game kind of becomes a fairly big problem, guys, in terms of they're peaking, and we're pretty much just defending a lot of the time. We're wanting to split push, keep the lanes pushed out. If we lose an important core due to a pick off and they smoke gank, the game's pretty much over, or we definitely lose 1 or 2 lanes of racks, which is a big problem. I buy a smoke here because we haven't smoked in a while. That was something that we were looking at on the last couple of videos, something that I really need improving on. I feel like we don't really have great vision as well. I've only got sort of 1 obs ward at the moment. I have another one at base that I could have taken. I'm pretty sure that I end up putting an obs ward sort of in their jungle here, because I'm really wanting to see these 2 camps. So when they're putting that much pressure on our jungle, I want to have vision of their jungle so that I can see how much that we can get out of it, because often when teams are playing aggressively, they will be in our jungle a lot, so we can pretty much just switch to their jungle and get a lot out of it without them even realizing it. So just sort of trying to maximize the farm on our cores and on myself as well. This Queen of Pain will be utilizing it a lot because she'll sort of be up in that jungle. This Deucer is being gone on. I'm at this stage thinking that this is a really terrible fight and not even TB. I TB'd quite late to this. I thought that the decision was going to be to back, but we end up turning it around and actually getting a pretty good fight. So Husker gets brought down here. He's just flat out dead. The Deuce is really low. Obviously just waiting for time I stun. He ends up using BKB. We then just pretty much have to back off. They've still got 4 alive, but we want to hang around for his BKB. We really want to just re-engage and see what we can do. End up going in here, end up using the Husky so that he does the least damage as possible, and then realizing that this fight's pretty much just flat out lost. The Razor's also used. his ulti, refresher, so we're just wanting to back off as quickly as possible. So, I guess the BKB usage there from the husk was pretty good. I did end up wasting a charge because I used and then tried to stun into it, so that's good for us as well because his BKB charges will be being lowered as the game continues and goes on later. So all for all, I would say that maybe that fight was relatively even in terms of strategical presence. As we can see, we'll just take a look at the gold graph. So this is a slight benefit maybe for us, but nothing at all really. And I feel this is sort of the stage of the game, particularly in Dota, where where your individual play really shines. Past 40 minutes, or around 39-40 minutes, like we're at now, if the game's really even, this is where the good Dota players, I feel, are separated from the bad ones. The mid-game, or the later stages of the game, really depicts, I find, how skillful you are. And these are the types of games where you can do something that will flat out win your team the game, but you can also do things that can flat out lose the game, even on a support hero. So for instance, missing a stun, an important stun, or choosing to Laguna the wrong target instead of maybe killing a Dazzle first, like in that previous fight down the bottom. These things really add up and can actually cost the game a lot. Once again, we don't see anyone in their jungle, so we know they're roughly probably around the Ancients, and between both of their tier 2 towers, both middle and bottom. This is a pretty good time to smoke, because the lanes are sort of fairly pushed out for us, and it means that we can just sort of pressure them. So we end up going through here. We're sort of sitting behind the Queen of Pain. I've got a feeling as well, I'll just pause it here quickly. Looking at this map, if you take a couple of seconds to think about where they would be, like I was saying before, they were most likely all around here before. There's a high likelihood that they're actually in the area as well, which ends up being the thing that what happens. So I'm actually going to put this down to 0.5 speed because I feel like this fight is going to need to be slowed down, and also put it into free camera. So end up seeing the slarder here. I know that he's going to blink. I end up using it, which is quite good, sort of allows me to back off and end up re-engaging. The Dazzle has also then used his ulti, so we basically just want to get the hell out. We're not wanting to fight, we're just wanting to dodge the fight. Because as the fight is prolonged, like I was mentioning before, we're going to get worse. So we're trying to look for a sort of a re-engage point here. Decided to sort of let that over go. He's flat out dead. Really, we're wanting to just sort of back off and just get out. End up using the slider there. The Deucer for some reason wants to keep going. I'm just not sure why. I'm telling him to back out. We're now in a pretty bad position. I tried to stun the slider before he dodged it. The Windrunner is just so close to dying at this stage. End up getting a stun on the slider so that he can't blink again. Slider's then probably going to re-engage into us. The Queen of Pain gets a really, really good Shivas as well. Then the Husker just comes with me and I just die pretty much instantly. So, just sort of reiterating that point, that fight originally started here, went all the way down through here, all the way to here. So, you can see how it turned out. We had 2 heroes that died. We almost had a Windrunner that died as well. The longer these fights go with these 2 drafts, the worse it's going to be for us. We got, I guess, lucky in a sense that we didn't lose more heroes from there. Like I was saying before, though, the main thing is, from the vision that we had at that particular stage, and where I was saying that I thought that they were anyway, when we were baiting the co-op, it was pretty likely that they were going to be either smoked up or coming in on her. So instead, what I should have done, or what I should have maybe told my team is, look guys, let's bait the Quap and let's sit behind her, let them engage on us, and then we'll turn it. Rather than us being the ones to smoke gang blindly in here, because it then puts us in a really, really bad position like that did, because we can counter gank them in that fight a lot better than we can be the ones that are engaging blindly. Particularly when we don't really have an initiator hero. Windrunner doesn't have a blink, so it's probably just best with no vision there just to be counter ganking it rather than be the ones initiating the gank. This is when it gets kind of scary as well, defending high ground. We can just be in real trouble here. They end up sort of overextending slightly. Medusa blows her ulti. She ends up dying as well. Sorry, she doesn't blow her ulti. It's good as well they're not actually focusing the tower for some reason. If they were just flat out focusing the tower, we'd be in a lot more trouble. Windrunner just misses his ulti there, which is really unfortunate. It's just really, really close on this Husker. Ends up killing the Deucer. So the Deucer buys back and then dies as well. They just got so much out of that fight. As you can see, basically a 5k gold swing, 7k XP swing. So really, we got pretty stomped that fight from what looked like to be a fairly minor mistake in terms of us wanting to be the ones that were engaging, but then ended up turning into be a major mistake because it cost 2 heroes, which then led to a push, which then led to the Deucer having to buy back and then dying again. The games as well at this stage is probably sort of even a little bit. I'm trying to use this guy just so I can 100% guarantee the stun. We end up getting him. It's going to be really, really close here as well, but we do get him, so that's really, really good. The heroes were all missing as well, so I was really skeptical as to how far I wanted to go and engage that. Windrunner gets an amazing shackle. The Venge still somehow gets out, so... oh no, she doesn't, sorry, she'll end up dying here. It still gets out. Notice as well, guys, I'm always staying quite far at the back. I don't want this slarder to be the one initiating on me. This was probably the biggest factor in this game that I was scared of, was the slarder actually getting a stun off on me. So in these team fights, you'll be noticing my positioning relatively close, relatively far away from where the first sort of heroes are up the front. So instead of being like on the same distance as the Windrunner or the Queen of Pain or the Deucer, I'm standing probably another 700 or 600 units away from them. So I'm sort of in stun range of them, so that if the slarder or the Husker goes on either of them, then they can just go in. Here we end up bursting on this guy, which is just huge, which can then hopefully be translated into a push high ground depending on whether he's got buyback or not. You could assume he would have buyback at this stage, but you just don't know. Game in the last couple of minutes has really turned on its head. Guess from the decision as well that we got in the fight, Lina comes in here. The fight's getting a little bit crazy as well. What I'll do is I'll just pause this as well and go back sort of a little bit. Free camera, and we'll go half speed as well, so we can just see what's going on. So the slider comes in on us, end up trying to stun him, and then he actually BKBs before I do that. Once again, guys, I'm hanging at the back here, I don't really want to commit to the fight, I just want to be laying stunned as soon as I can. End up using the Venge, I don't really want her to be using any more of her spells. Her Glimmer Cape or 4-star. So wanting to just remove her from the fight. Excuse me. They end up killing the slider here. So the Deucer ulti. They've got 3 grouped here. I end up backing once again. I'm just not sure sort of how close they are and how close I can get into the fight. Pretty much considered Deucer dead at that stage. So then I'm basically just wanting to get the hell out.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
So then, pretty much, like I said before, just wanting to get out of that fight, I end up stunning the Razor and then basically just TPing. So the key things to take were from that fight were the fight in our secret shop. The Windrunner got an amazing shackle. We got a couple of pickoffs, which then led into
Dire's bottom tower
us
is under
forcing
attack.
middle and then getting another pickoff on the Husker, which then led to I think it was the Husker bought back. Yeah, so the Husker bought back, and then
Dire's
we actually ended
bottom
up
tower
killing
is
some
under
and
attack.
then losing a hero. So we got a fair bit out of that fight. In fact, we got a huge amount out of it. Got about a 4k gold swing, which was really, really important. So
Roshan has fallen to the dire.
that ended up going really,
Dire's
really well
top
for
tower
us.
is under attack.
Once again, with their draft, you can't really stop them getting Roshan. We're more just wanting to fight around the fact maybe that we want to be waiting out the Aegis, and we also want to be split pushing a lot, because as I was saying earlier on, our late game is just so much better than theirs, I feel. I think that come ultra late game, their late game is
Dire's
actually
top
probably
tower
better
is
than
under
ours.
attack.
So it goes sort of in waves. We probably had the better early game. Then coming into the mid game, their mid game is much stronger. So like from 20 minutes to say 35 minutes. Now we're actually starting to take over more from them. But then if it goes past like say 60 or 70 minutes, so it's ultra late, they probably then end up having the better team, depending on how they itemize. Windrunner ends up getting caught here. Once again, guys, I'm just sitting at the back, right? I'm not wanting to get caught out. I end up using my ulti on the Husker here. I just picked up an Ags as well. I'm just sitting at the back, guys, sitting at the back. I'm just wanting to keep the Husker out of this fight. End up stunning him here. Just sitting here at the back. Not wanting to be picked off by the slarder or anyone else. Just trying to lay out as many stuns as I can. Get another good stun on the Husker, end up bursting him. We then end up going for the Razor. I'll just use him once again and just stun him. Can then basically get a chase and kill him. And also the Husker's dead, if you remembered as well from the buybacks. So really, really good fight from us. But I feel like I had a very, very large impact in terms of I was more concentrating on stun locking the Husker with both my Yules, his Aegis timing as well as my stun. So what happened was I got him in a good position. The Deucer ulti was really, really good as well, so he got stone gazed as he came in, or as he was relatively low, so we were in fact able to burst him down. Then once he did respawn, my stun was off cooldown again, and I could stun him next to both of our tier 4 towers, and just chip him from range. So that was really, really important, I feel.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
We haven't actually died in that many fights as well, considering they're heroes, so we're doing alright in the Lina field. Going and end up stunning. Realised that it's probably a bad decision and we should probably just go for the racks. We don't really want to dive them too far. The racks are just far more important at this stage of the game, obviously, than a kill maybe on a dazzle. But we're still wanting to hang around because we can still fight them, because we've got 5 alive. But we don't really want to overcommit to the towers, so instead of that, we just decide to take middle racks and then end up going bottom. The Husker's coming back in sort of 10 seconds, and so is the Razor. We're pretty much just wanting to get the tier 3 tower here and get out, which is what I'm telling my team. We absolutely don't want to be fighting them when they're all alive. We got so much advantage out of that particular fight that there's just no need to even risk it for us. So another key thing as well, guys, from that fight, where they did dive us quite deep, was the fact that I got an Ags. That gave us the ability to end up killing that Husker fairly well. End up buying a couple of Obs wards here. My Obs wards, or my sort of warding, coming into this stage of the game is actually quite poor. Something that I've noticed that I really need to focus on, and that will be something that I'll be working on in the future. But I let a lot of obs wards sort of go through to this stage. So as you can see, there's 3 obs wards that I had just sitting at home at 50 minutes. That's, as a support player, that's just not acceptable. So that's really bad for me. If we say had an extra 2 wards up on the map now, we could be able to assert our dominance from getting that mid racks a lot easier, and also would be a lot less afraid of their smoke ganks or their shenanigans of what they were doing. So I feel like that's really important, and I can't give a good excuse as to why, because really that's just poor play by me as to why I didn't have more obs up. Decide to plant an obs here. This is actually a misplant in terms of the exact positioning of where it is. So if we look at this carefully, it actually doesn't get any of this vision here. So, excuse me, doesn't actually get any of this vision here. So that's really bad in terms of if there's a Roche fight or there's a fight around the Ancients here, we're missing a whole bunch of vision than if I just placed it here. At this stage of the game, it's not really going to matter whether you place it here or here in terms of dewarding. So you're wanting to get the most vision out of it, because if they're going to deward it, they're most likely going to have a gem at this stage of the game anyway. End up placing a ward here. The reason that I looped around and through here and planted it from over here rather than walking up through here was for this exact reason. If they have a ward here, like they do, or if they have a ward here or even here, they're going to see me plant that. However, so that's basically 3 ward spots where they have a chance of seeing me plant the ward. Talk about this as well. I end up dying here. Not particularly sure what I was doing hanging around there. That's just flat out bad. Also, another mistake that I made is that I should have used myself to remove the amplify damage, just so that the slarder didn't have vision of where I was going. So if I just used myself straight away once I had 4-staffed up here, he then wouldn't have had vision of me, and I would have been able to get out potentially. So I just pause it here because I really want to talk about this ward spot. So they could have had a ward spot anywhere along here. They also could have had a ward here and here. Whoops. Here and here. Like I said before, the reason that I went round was because the likelihood of them seeing me deward, or seeing me put a ward there, sorry, is really only going to be on this particular spot here. So the likelihood of us being seen is about a third, probably to a half less. So, if, 30 to 40% probably, roughly, less by just taking that pathing around there. And like I said, me not using myself to remove that amplify damage was also a mistake. I sort of just panicked and assumed that he would keep chasing me up here, but he'd already used both his blink and 4-staff, so I don't really know why didn't do that. We now have quite a significant advantage. We've certainly got the most amount of map control now. We still have a gem on us as well. We didn't really end up losing that, I think, or if we did, we reclaimed it and the ogre's got it. So yeah, it's just really interesting in terms of that gem really paid dividends at the moment, early on, because it's translating into later game. Yes, it set my ags back a lot because of me dying a couple of times after I bought it, and sort of it's obviously 900 gold as well, but it just meant that at that stage of the game we could really just limit their vision and limit their map presence a lot more than they probably should have had at that stage of the game. And now as well, it means that our just map presence is just so good. So as you can see, we're pressuring a lot of the lanes, pressuring 2 to 3 lanes at once.
Top tower is under attack.
They do still have an obs ward there, you can probably see it on the minimap, still up there, but that's probably the only one. So I won't go into the enemy sort of vision. You can have a look now as well quickly, just sort of see see if they do have... I'm not sure why this is bugged. Maybe I have to go, if I go to their vision. Dire. So they do end up actually having 2 wards here, but they're very, very close to their particular base, which is really, really good. So their vision is very limited if they want to actually place any observer wards. So I feel like the gem pickup was a good pickup, particularly early on, but it's now also translated into this late game scenario. Pretty much as well, guys, if the game's going over 40 minutes, you're almost always wanting to have a gem. There's really no excuse not to have one if the game's longer than 40 minutes, particularly if the game is even. Even is a really, really good sort of game-breaking decider to actually be choosing to go for it. So for instance, if the game is even, you can end up turning the game just based solely off vision. And if you're behind as well, getting it while you're behind is obviously really good because you're wanting, in this game, like they were, sorry, I was just watching that fight. So like they were, we're wanting to limit their vision and limit their impact so that they can't see our farming patterns. But then also the other alternative to that is if you're ahead, you're then wanting to limit their vision like we are now. So you can kind of see how at different stages of the game, particularly in this game as well, where it was at all 3 stages, it was even at one stage of the game, they then got ahead and now we're ahead. And the gem was a part of all 3 of those, basically. So it's just interesting to see how that can be effective in all of those stages, not just simply if you're ahead, which is what I feel like the large majority of people who buy gems go for. So it's really quite an underutilized item. Watching here, the reason that we haven't really done much for the last couple of minutes is that we were in fact waiting for Roche. We end up getting Roche down to about half health. The Windrunner is actually at top and on low mana. We even trying to go for Roche there was a mistake, particularly the fact that we got it down to half health, because it just means that they can take Roche like this now, and there's absolutely no way of contesting it. I assume that they're in Roche now. Yeah, so there's just no way of us really contesting that at all, which is sort of a bit of a nuisance because we just shouldn't have gone for it. We just gave them a free Roche. The game's still pretty firmly in our hands. We are just split pushing once again, but I don't really think that we should be afraid of them having an Aegis. Particularly,
triple fire.
I guess it is a cheese Aegis as well now that we have to worry about, which was also the cheese, had a cheese in the previous fight that the Razor popped, but something that you have to be wary of. We're split pushing as well, guys, not letting them use the Aegis in a 5-on-5 fight. You can see bottom split pushing, and then we're also split pushing top. So they kind of have to decide, because our heroes are strong individually at this stage of the game, they kind of have to decide which ones they want to commit 5 heroes to. I ended up seeing an opportunity here, guys, to get some damage on the range racks. I can't really get to the bottom fight. There's no real point in me TPing middle. So I just get about 400 damage on that actual range racks, which is pretty decent. Those types of things can make a big difference as well in these late game scenarios, because sometimes it can come down to 100 or 200 health can mean the difference between you getting around and winning the game. So that's 58 minutes in, that's really important. TP'd middle, the split push actually ended up meaning that they had one person pushing middle trying to get our racks, while they had a couple of people both bottom and top, so that enabled us to sort of split them up, and then we ended up killing the Razor because of that. So that's sort of an efficient, or not efficient, sorry, an effective thing that you can be using in your team, telling them to split push if you've got very mobile heroes like we do, so with the Windrunner and the Queen of Pain, and then you also got Bloodlust Ogre, so everyone's running quite quickly, so we've got high mobility. That's something that you can use to great effect in these pub games later on, is people don't really know how to handle split push in pubs, particularly if done effectively, and you can then create opportunities from nothing like that, where the Razor's just out on his own where he shouldn't be, and it's just an easy kill, which then is pretty much now just going to turn into mega creeps. Once again, I'm standing back, guys, not wanting to commit too heavily, just always standing back. I'm really scared of this slider coming in on me, but now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hang at the back and just try and stun lock this particular husker. End up missing his stun because he ends up getting his BKB off. Just going to stun them again, end up full stumping the Medusa around, and the Wind Runner sort of uses her shackle there. So what I'd really like to, the main points that I'd like to sort of get out of this video are sort of the analysis of draft, is probably the first point. Looking at their draft and saying, okay, when's their draft going to be peaking compared to ours? And from that, like I mentioned before, they were going to always be peaking mid-game. So firstly, you want to be getting a strong laning phase and securing as much farm for your late game carry as possible and for your mid as possible. So warding the safe lane early, particularly in sort of places. I'll have to start it before I can go free camera again, but sort of in
Dire's top barracks has fallen. Dire's middle tower has fallen.
So yeah, sort of warding in places like here in your safe lane, ensuring that your carry has a lot of farm early on. Also not being afraid to lose tier 1 towers. You don't always have to be fighting into them, guys. You can just forfeit a tier 1 tower if you feel like you were going to benefit from it. I feel like a key stage of the game as well was when they got the Aegis, they ended up coming down, and because of that lane war, we saw 3 heroes sort of diddly-daddling around here, and we ended up getting a tier 1 tower in exchange, and also a lot of damage on their tier 1 tower middle. So that was a fairly important thing because of that ward. So that's sort of the first thing, I guess, analysing the draft, seeing where they're peaking, understanding what you need to do. You need to be dragging this game late. If you're on Radiant, you're obviously wanting to end the game around 35-40 minutes if you're on Dire. Second major thing that I would probably be bringing up as well is the gem. Sometimes it is really necessary when you're behind to be sacrificing a big item, i.e. in this game I could have gotten a much faster Ags than I did. The gem helped the Quap move around, go undetected, and she actually ended up getting a fair amount of D wards off this game because of that. So that really limited their impact when they were peaking. And I guess thirdly as well, the thing that I would like to focus on more in future games is when it comes to these mid and really quite late game scenarios, is focusing on always buying obs. You can see here I've got another 2 obs just sitting here. That's just not acceptable 60 minutes. So that's something, 60 minutes in, so that's something that you guys should focus on as well. When it gets late, don't forget to keep warding. Always be buying the obs wards. A useful thing as well maybe that you could do is you could shift click the obs so you can always see when it's off cooldown. So if you shift click it, it will put it into the quick buy section here. That means that you can always just see when it's off cooldown, so that can help remind you when it is. So I may start doing that in the future. So once again, guys, thanks for watching. I hope that you got a lot out of it. I certainly learned a lot out of this, particularly with the movements as well. Another thing, is that I'd like to point out was the positioning, particularly against the Slarder and Husker, sitting at the back. So that would actually probably be my third or fourth major point to take from this. As was similar with the Lion game against, I believe it was the Clockwork and Magnus. In this game it was more the Husker and the Slarder that I was scared of, particularly the Slarder. So just watching your positioning in the team fights and being patient and just trying to stun lock their carry when you can, but also be avoiding getting stun locked yourself and then just dying instantly because you're a low HP hero. So thank you very much for watching, guys. Once again, like I said before, I'll be uploading these videos once every day, and hopefully we can get a really big collection soon. Thank you very much and have a good day.